What are you doing, Jimmy?
I'll be with you in a moment.
You got a tattoo. That would not have been necessary. I told you that this is nothing, Jimmy. It's nothing.
My pleasure.
Well, okay then. Show it to me. Come on, show it to me.
All right.
Jimmy.
Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage.
And I'm Deniz, the Buddymeister.
We have reviewed almost 400 indie movies on the channel, and once a month we let all of our awesome patrons and YouTube members decide which movie we should talk about next. The last poll was all about modern Tamil classics.
The options were Ayiratil Oruvan, Karthi, and the winner, Paruthiveeran.
The next poll is also already up, and this time our supporters can choose between 3 Shyam Benegal films: Mammo, Nishant and Suraj Ka Satwan Goda.
Paruthiveeran is a Tamil language romantic drama that was written and directed by Ameer. We've already come into contact with Ameer. He starred in Vada Chennai, but besides his work as an actor and writer, he also directed 4 movies.
Paruthiveeran won many prizes, including National Film Awards, Film4 Awards South, Tamil Nadu State Film Awards and a few others. But more importantly, it was also a commercial and critical success.
It stars Karthi in his debut as a lead actor. Before that, he was only seen in a small role in one other movie, alongside Priyamani, Ponvanan and Saravanan. And there are also a lot of non-professional actors or people who just live in the rural area around Madurai, where a lot of the movie was shot.
And you can feel that right from the get-go. Paruthiveeran oozes with authenticity, not only because of the non-professional actors, but also because of the extended location shootings. It's drenched in local flavor. The movie begins with this more than 10-minute long festivity sequence where the focus of interest shifts around, from the masses to some individuals, from music and dances to animals and food. We are thrown right into the middle of this big event, and slowly we understand that some kind of attack is supposed to happen. We don't really know why and who these characters are yet, but we are intrigued by it and immersed into this world.
It's a great introduction / exposition / build-up. Parts of it look and feel like a documentary. It's so palpable, and when the attack that you mentioned happens, the screen freezes. And shortly after that, we get to know Paruthiveeran and Sevalai, nephew and uncle, 2 small-time crooks whose biggest ambition it is to get imprisoned in Madras, today's Chennai.
Paruthiveeran is not really the most likable character, but that doesn't mean that he's not a great protagonist.
Absolutely. At the heart of this movie is the love story between him and his childhood friend Mutalage, a romance that faces insurmountable challenges, including family opposition and his own delinquent personality.
It's kind of a tragic Romeo and Juliet love story, but it's very much filmmaker Ameer's own uncompromised version of it. Paruthiveeran in a way exemplifies what I have grown to love about the small segment of Tamil cinema that I have watched until now. It's raw and gritty, not afraid to show truly terrible and dark things like they are, and I always have the feeling that I'm getting immersed into this, for me, very foreign culture. The depiction feels real and genuine, and there's a certain punch to it.
The movie has such a great feeling of locality. The whole atmosphere is somehow filled with anger and oppression, which doesn't mean that the movie is super grim all the time. There's actually a lot of levity and humor in it, but that stems completely from the characters, and there's also a dark touch to it.
We have to highlight the cinematography by Ramji, which plays a big part in regards to the atmosphere and the whole vibe of Paruthiveeran. And of course also the great music by Yuvan Shankar Raja, which is very dominating in this movie and also presented as an integral part of it. Take for example the long but culturally very rich sequence with the music troupe in the desert.
I loved that scene, and the music of course. There are some beautiful shots in this movie, and of course parts of it, the flashbacks, were also shot in black and white, which I personally thought to be unnecessary, but then again some of those scenes looked really nice. And I thought those flashbacks, which provide us with additional background information, were integrated quite nicely.
This movie has a lot of great scenes. One that immediately comes to mind is when they swindle this one guy who is on his way to buy a cow out of his money.
This poor chap tries everything but never gains the upper hand, and I think he even says that at one point.
Yeah, scenes like this add a lot to the film's tapestry, but at the same time you also need a lot of patience. The runtime is really long, and as an outsider I can't deny that it was quite challenging to make head and tails of all these caste, family and clan conflicts. There are a lot of side characters, and at least for me I wouldn't have minded a bit more clarity. But keep in mind that we also rely on the subtitles, and constantly keeping up with the many dialogues certainly takes its toll.
Yes, I was pretty exhausted at the end. Of course, the way the movie goes and how it plays out is one reason for that, but the permanent talking and shouting and all these voices everywhere, it wore me down. But it never lost me. It's like you can totally feel the movie's length, like for example in that scene with the music troupe that we mentioned, but it's never boring.
I think the obvious reasons for that are the direction and the acting. It's really refreshing how direct and drastic the movie can be, through the dialogue, character portrayals, and of course their actions.
This movie can be so brutal and unfiltered and direct, but I had my problems in really connecting with it. A reason for that might of course be the language barrier and the subtitles. But I somehow felt strangely disconnected to these characters and their personal history. The nature of the ending, which we will not talk about, is of course hard-hitting and deeply moving and disturbing, but it didn't feel all that profound to me.
I guess I can understand that, but I definitely ascribe that to the language barrier. I got carried away by this story, how it's shot, directed, narrated and acted of course. Karthi is really good, but without a doubt the absolute highlight of the film is Priyamani, who won the National Film Award for her role.
We have seen her before in a very different role in a very different movie. In the same year, she also starred in S.S. Rajamouli's Yamadonga. But yeah, she's fantastic as Mutalage, this very confident but also kind of lonely girl/woman.
Mutalage is a power of nature. She's so determined on what she wants and she always fights back, even if the odds are stacked against her. There's this incredible scene where she gets beaten by her father, which certainly wasn't the first time. The tension in their household is so high, and there's this moment after the big fight where she demands more food so that her body will be strong enough to take it all. It's remarkably directed by Ameer and acted by Priyamani.
Great scene. Another thing that I wanted to mention that kind of stuck out for me, but in a more negative way, were these odd split-screen scenes. I didn't know what to make of it.
Yeah, it's not a big issue, but I'm not a fan of these split screens either. And they are also only really used in the first half of the movie. For me, they clash with the grounded, realistic nature of the film, especially because the images on both sides were always so distorted. I'm not so sure if any of the split screens accomplished anything super dramatic or artistic. Instead, they just stuck out to me like a sore thumb.
Like you said, not a big issue, but odd. So in my mind, Paruthiveeran is a decent movie that's a bit too long, a bit too unfocused maybe, and like I said, I couldn't quite connect with the story and the characters. Maybe I've seen too much movies that kind of follow that classic storyline with the flashbacks of the rowdy boy and the girl and the clans and the casts. I don't know, but I'd still recommend people to watch it.
I agree, but only in regards to the runtime. I would probably rate it a bit higher if it wasn't almost 3 hours long, but besides that, I really liked it.
So what would we say in German about Paruthiveeran?
Paruthiveeran ist ein tragischer, brutaler, authentischer und ebenso romantischer Film, der veranschaulicht, warum ich bzw. wir das tamilische Kino so lieben. I give Paruthiveeran 7 out of 10. It's more like 7.4, but I don't do that.
For me, it's also 7 out of 10. It's more like 6.7, but I don't do that either. Did you know that according to a survey, 17% of the people who have tattoos regret having them? The most often reason for that regret is it's the name of another person.
Don't I know that already? So, what are your thoughts about Paruthiveeran? Leave a comment. You can hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd and also on Patreon, simply at TheJimmyCage.
And you can hit me up on Twitter at Buddymeister.
And as always, if you enjoyed this episode, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like.
And make sure you hit that bell for all we have to tell.